Here we go.
Here we go. Jay's faking sick.
And we think he's listening to us.
We've all been there.
Yeah. Oh, man. Anything you just want to talk about?
Well, nothing's happened since we've last been on. Nothing.
So it's kind of a Series 1 roundup, I guess, right? Like it's we've never had to move one of these along without Jay, but it's a Series 1 roundup, and literally behind me, the last game in round 1 is being played. So I don't think we'll have a winner before we're done recording tonight, but it is currently 2-0 St. Louis. Gary, you're looking up. Am I right? Is it still
2-0? It's right here in front of me. Yeah,
2-0.
We record a segment as if Winnipeg won, and another segment as if St. Louis won.
Well, we'll get us three were Leafs fans. We got some stuff we want to talk about, but if we want to unpack last night without Jay, who we're joking, he really is sick, but it feels like he's faking sick. So Colorado surprise trades Rantanen mid-season, and then Rantanen doesn't re-sign with Carolina and demands a trade, and Carolina trades him back to the Western Conference, and he goes to Dallas, and Colorado, who started the year off with Rantanen, has to face him in the first round, and Rantanen gets 11 points in 3 games. Scores. So Dallas is down 3-0 or 2-0 to Colorado going into the third, and then Rantanen scores, and then Rantanen scores, and then Rantanen assists on the go-ahead goal, and then Rantanen scores again, all in the third period. No player in the history of the NHL has scored a hat trick in the third period of a Game 7 ever. Ever. And if that was in some hockey movie or something in the future, even a Mighty Ducks movie, we'd all be rolling our eyes saying that is so far-fetched. That doesn't happen. The player that used to play for you puts the new team on his back, scores, assists, and scores, is just foolish. Crazy. Now, my heart goes out to Jeremy as a Leafs fan who has lived through several third-period chokes, let alone... it makes me sick to my stomach, boys, but the Toronto-Boston series...
Winnipeg just scored.
Yeah. Did they? Let's go.
They did. 2-1 right now, middle. 8-19 in the second. So, sorry.
Now, mind you, as a Leafs fan, let's say hypothetically we got all the way to the finals. Would you not rather the Blues over the Jets?
Oh. You'd rather have the Blues, you said?
On paper you'd think so, but the Blues look amazing.
Yeah.
The Blues, as Jeremy said before, are like the new Boston.
Yeah.
So do you really want them in the final?
Yeah, they slept all year, and now they're just on fire.
One thing about the Jets, though, you get the Tanev brothers going against each other. If the Leafs made it to the finals.
Yes. Yeah, you would. Yeah, that's true enough. I like Brandon Tanev too. Any notable other than that? That series between Dallas and Colorado, if we want to unpack that one a little bit, was as would you guys say as advertised?
Oh, definitely.
We knew it was going to be tight. Yeah,
it was a Western Conference final in the first round.
Yeah, that's what it felt like.
You know what series?
And I mean, I've seen.
Oh, sorry. You know what series really disappointed me? And it's kind of on the opposite side of this Dallas, Colorado, is the Battle of Florida. I thought that was going to go way longer, way deeper than what it did. But after seeing the list of Tampa Bay's injuries, you kind of understand too. There were some pretty serious ones there. And go over those if you want, Phil, because people don't know. But I'm going to second your. I was also disappointed. I just assumed those two teams would beat the crap out of each other for at least 6 games. That's just what I thought.
Only 2 suspensions?
Only 2.
Yeah. Ekblad serves 20 games, comes back for 1 game, gets another suspension.
I think he's out game 1 too, is he not?
Man. He missed game 1 and 2, I believe, finishing his drug policy violation suspension.
No, I mean, round 2, game 1. I think he's out game 1 versus the Leafs for that last suspension.
Yeah.
Oh, is he still suspended?
Yep.
But anyway, going back to the Avalanche and Stars, like that was the series so far of the playoffs. I think maybe this Winnipeg St. Louis one is up there too, but that Dallas and the Avs were just unreal. Like I watched every game and it was just like, okay, who's going to win tonight? Like you just didn't know. It was back and forth, right?
So I'm going to echo something. Maybe Gary remembers saying this or doesn't remember saying this, but it was like 5 or 6 episodes ago. We were talking about the Four Nations Cup, and Gary said all the Four Nations Cup did for him was show him how good hockey could be if there was only like 6, 7, 8 teams in the NHL. So to me, part of a playoff format, when you do the 1 through 8, if we went old school and number 1 got number 8, if number 8 upset number 1, that was a big upset, and it was kind of fun to watch, good for the underdog. But on paper, 1 versus 8, 1 should have went forward, and 2 versus 7, 2 should have went forward. Gary's kind of nodding. He knows where I'm going with this.
I know what you mean.
On paper, most of the time, when you get to like the final 8, which round 2 is, there's 32 teams. There's 8 teams left, still playing hockey. So say what you want, even as like, you know what I mean? If your team's still in it, it's one of 8 teams left out of 32. That's not bad, right? Especially now. But when I was a kid, the series got more and more competitive as you move forward because you were arguably facing better and better teams as you move forward. You know what I mean? Like the number 1 ranked team in the East might not get to see the number 2 ranked team in the East until the conference final.
If they make it that far.
If they made it that far, but it would be the conference final. And now you got 2 series, you know what I mean? But now, what felt like it could have been a conference final, Dallas versus Colorado, that was first round because just the playoff format. Like, and like, mind you, it doesn't make it less of a good series, and the Blues taking it to the Jets here, you know what I mean? Just does not feel like a first round matchup. Not that those can't happen. It feels like a second or third round matchup. And then you're hoping for the 2 best teams out of each conference to be in the final, and you have a deadly final matchup. Like it should be Four Nations-esque matchup in the final. Right? But that's not necessarily what we're getting.
It's true.
With this playoff format.
I guess what this current playoff format does is give you motivation to win your division, right? Unless you're Winnipeg.
Oh, yeah.
But so far, like the first place teams have, with the exception of Winnipeg, which hopefully they get through tonight, being a Canadian team and all, but we'll find out. But I think the other 3 has made it, right? Toronto, Washington, and what was the other one at West? I'm drawing a blank on it. Do you guys?
Vegas?
Yeah, Vegas. Yes. Yeah.
But you know, Phil, the old way was, no, you didn't have to win a division. You wanted top 4. I just wanted top 4. Top 4 is home ice advantage. Right? And the higher you were, the better off you were, because if I took 4th, and now if everyone else is eliminated and I have to play the first place team, I lose my home ice advantage. Right? Like if Toronto gets by Florida, and I don't want people to think I'm that naive listening to this. If Toronto got by Florida, right, they're going to get Washington, maybe. Let's say maybe Washington beats Carolina. Toronto loses their home ice advantage, even though they won the division, because Washington had more points. So you're still, anyway.
So I found this list of Tampa's injuries. Shall we go through it?
Hagel had a dandy, man. Holy cow.
Victor Hedman, broken foot, which he played on.
Yep.
Nikita Kucherov, left hand injury. Eric Chernak. Is it Chernak? Is how you pronounce that? I think so, yeah.
Yep.
Left knee contusion.
Yep.
Nick Paul, left wrist tear. Brandon Hagel, concussion, which we all knew. Yanni Gord, broken finger. Anthony Cirelli, grade 2 MCL sprain. Luke Glendening, right shoulder AC joint separation, and Oliver Bourque had a compartment syndrome, which I looked this up. It's whenever pressure develops like in your muscle and your muscle swells, what they actually have to do is cut you open like a gash like this and leave you cut open until the swelling goes down, because what it can actually do is cut off like blood flow and cause amputation.
Circulation.
Yeah. So
he had an emergency trip to the ER at 2:00 in the morning and had to have surgery.
I did not know that. Why did I not? How did I miss that?
That's like some serious
Holy
stuff
cow.
there in terms of injuries.
Hedman was like walking around in the protective boot when he wasn't on the ice.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Hockey players are different, boys.
I can't believe I'm saying this. Well, speaking of hockey players, I think it was Ray Whitney shared a clip, and it was like, hey, NBA coaches. And I want to say it was like, I don't know whose hit it was, Phil. I think it was a Tom Wilson hit on Anderson or something. And Anderson went flying, and it was like, hey, NBA coaches, next time one of your players says he has a sore toe, show him this clip. This guy played the next shift. It was just, I'm going to give kudos to, I can't believe I'm saying this, throw up in my mouth a little bit, but Montreal. They squeaked in, and while they lost, was it in 5 to Washington? It sure didn't feel like 5. Mm-hmm. Some of those scores were deceiving because it was empty netters and stuff. They gave them a go. They gave Washington all they could handle.
And they lost their starting goalie game 3, I think, or game 4. Growing Terry, I think they announced he was having, he had. So
yeah, no, so good for them. That team looks. It's
ready
a cliche to say.
Step.
Yeah. And it's cliche sometimes, Gary, to say like, oh, just wait a couple years, those young. But like for that team, that's legit. Like they're getting better and better, and under St. Louis, so I don't know that they got to wait a couple years. Next year, they could be something to contend with, and the next year they'll all. Mm-hmm. They remind me of, they're a little more aggressive than Toronto, but they remind me of Toronto 4 years ago. They're getting in, but their young guys don't know enough yet. You know what I mean? Like they're not there yet, but they're more aggressive. They're more on the puck. Like they're fighting for every.
Suzuki and Caulfield they've been there for a while now, so they're not just rookies learning the way they should. They're kind of ready to move up.
They're ready to go, and they're taking a lot of young guys with them.
But Suzuki and Caulfield were actually part of that Cup final run during the COVID year. So like those guys would have got a lot of experience in that, right? Even though it was in the bubble, but still, playoff hockey was playoff hockey, right? So.
And Savard retired, right?
Yeah.
After the series, so that'll be a spot to fill that type of player. I don't think they have somebody who can just jump into that, but they can find that.
Agree or disagree, the only series that went the way I thought it was going to go exactly was Carolina over New Jersey.
Yeah.
I feel like I could have wrote it out. That's exactly what happened.
I called the Leafs Oilers in 6. Or not Oilers. Leafs Ottawa in 6, but I didn't think it was going to be like Leafs up 3-0. And then all of a sudden now it's 3-2, right? It was like, oh dear.
And Phil, I'm Phil's witness. We were sitting on the couch, and Phil said it because I was also thinking Leafs in 6, and Phil said it before I did. And at school, kids were asking me, and I said Leafs in 6. I said, don't worry, Leafs in 6. What I did not have on my bingo card was going up 3-0.
Exactly.
And then still taking 6 because you were up 3-0. But Carolina and New Jersey went exactly how I thought it was going to go.
All the injuries Jersey had going in, you figured it would go that way. Yeah. And then they lose like 2 players in 10 seconds in one shift.
Oh gosh, yeah. They a lot of young guys mixed with some bad luck. You know what I mean? But bright future in New Jersey. They're going to be one to watch for sure. And then we've got Minnesota and Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
I thought Minnesota had it there for a while.
Yeah,
I did too.
I was hoping they would. But.
Me too.
Kaprizov and Boldy are looking good.
I was really, honestly, I for a while there, I really thought, oh my gosh, like this is going to happen. This is really going to happen. I was rooting for them. I really, really was.
The only team in the big four sports that have been eliminated in the first round in consecutive years has been them. I think is it 10 years or is it 8 years? I think it's 10.
It's crazy.
They're the only team in professional four sports that's has this record right now, unfortunately for them.
Oh, don't worry.
I really thought they had it.
LA is going to catch up soon.
Did anyone see that reverse sweep? Like, holy smokes. Like,
can we... Okay, so that was next on my list, Gary. Can we unpack that one? So, like, we're moving on. Carolina is what we thought. Washington, Montreal was kind of what we thought, but good for Montreal. Gave them a run. Toronto, Ottawa was kind of what we thought, but not in that order. Right? Like, we thought... We're all disappointed in Florida and Tampa. We thought that would be more of a push by Tampa, but Tampa was beat up. Like, not just kind of beat up. All right. Edmonton and LA. What the heck was that? Holy cow.
So here's the big question. Who's the starting goalie for game one? Is it Pickard or Skinner?
Oh, man.
Excuse me.
They'll put in Pickard and the fans can chant "We want Stu."
Yeah, exactly.
Do you put in Pickard?
I think so. I mean, he got them to the second round, so you got to start with him, right?
I just never had.
Oh,
this just never.
Sorry, St. Louis just scored again.
Get out of here. What is happening? This is why I like NHL playoffs, and also why I dislike NHL playoffs. I just never had. I really thought, I'm going to admit, I was one of the, like, while I low-key, I'm a Toronto fan.
Low-key.
But I low-key root for Edmonton. No, but you know what I mean? Like, I keep an eye on, and like Jay's a Colorado fan. We only have to play each other twice a year. Do you know what I mean? And it's almost like, because he doesn't hate on the Leafs because he doesn't have to play us. Like, there is no...
I feel the same for Colorado.
So, but Edmonton, So I want to see Edmonton do well, man. I want to see them do okay. I had completely given up 2 games in. 2 games in, I was like, man, what is happening? They're choking. They're done. That is, honestly, that was my attitude. You too, Gary?
I was thinking it might be LA's time, but going back to one of the previous episodes we did, I was trying to talk you guys into, Edmonton in the final is not something to bet against.
No, I'm not anti that. When we did our rankings there, I remember when we did the rankings, Gary did try to convince us of Edmonton in the final. And there was a lot of talk of, I think we were hung up on the Dallas-Colorado matchup in that, like, Colorado could go to the final. Dallas could go to the final, but they got to get by each other first. And sure enough, it came all the way down to a game 7 in one period. One period did it in 7 games.
Now, do we actually think Edmonton can do it with Skinner playing this way? Ekholm out for the rest of the playoffs, it seems.
Yeah, that's right. That's a big blow.
Can McDavid and Draisaitl just pick these guys up and carry them through?
But at some point, that is one fluke injury away from catastrophe. That just is what it is. If either one of those guys go down, you're done. You're done. Because unless Pickard is Pickard, and you guys would agree, unproven, and Skinner, unless he can shake the cobwebs out or something's not, I don't know unless he can act like he did last year.
Yeah.
One of those other 2 guys going down is just catastrophe for them.
The rest of that decor is a step below defensively. I mean, Bouchard's great on the power play, but on the other side of the puck.
I know.
Kind of reminds you of all those Leafs teams. Their defense does before this year when the Leafs actually got a good decor.
Before this year. Yeah, before
but maybe
this
worse.
But maybe worse.
But
do we want to talk?
Can they outscore their problems? Maybe.
I wouldn't put anything past those 2 though, man.
Well, at one point, yes, but that's very. Edmonton had more success with this than the Leafs did. But 2 years ago, guys, you guys would remember the Leafs defense sucked so bad. it was not uncommon to let in 4 and 5 goals a game, but you still had a winning record because you scored 6. You know what I mean? And it was like, well, yeah, but, you know, we might have let in 5, which is atrocious, but we scored 6 goals. And I was like, guys, like, you cannot. This is like, you know what I mean? So if your top guys have a bad night, you're still letting in 3, 4, 5 goals and not outscoring the opposition. Like, and I feel like Edmonton just had more success with that model. You know what I mean? But now they've anyway. I want to know if you guys want to go over second round matchups here.
Well, that's where I was just going to go.
Even though we don't know the winner.
That's kind of where I was just going to go with Edmonton facing Vegas here. Like, they're going to have a hard time trying to outscore those guys because they got trees back there for a defense. Like, they are big monsters back there.
Yeah.
If Edmonton can turn it into a track meet,
that
might favor Edmonton. Yeah. If Vegas can control things and slow things
push
down
them to the outside and stuff. Yeah.
Well, let's start in the West. Dallas is waiting for the winner of the game behind me. Right? So Winnipeg or St. Louis.
Heiskanen and Robertson will be returning in round 2.
That's a big help.
I think either of those teams, do I dare say, Dallas has it anyway.
Unless
agree or disagree.
St. Louis squeezes out here tonight, they're ahead to 3-1. Like, if Binnington goes playoff Binnington.
Yes, that's the thing though.
Like, I mean, he can be Binnington where he lets in a squeaky one here and there, but then he can go playoff Binnington where he's completely shuts it down. So just what?
Well, man, that's my asterisk tonight. Him in game 7s.
I know.
Elimination games, championship games. He's just, I don't know what extra gear he finds. Yeah. So if it was Dallas and St. Louis, who you got?
Dallas.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Dallas 6 maybe.
Yeah, yeah, boys, I'm going Dallas too. And I'm being honest with you, if Colorado had won last night, I think I'd be going Colorado.
Yeah, I would be too.
Yeah. I think St. Louis is looking very impressive. They didn't look impressive all years to the point that they were sellers at the trade deadline. This is insane. And now they're final 8, right? Well, we think they're up 3-1.
If Winnipeg gets through and Hellebuck somehow finds his confidence in the rest of this game.
And Scheifele's healthy.
They should have Scheifele back.
Yeah, that could be interesting.
Yeah, if Hellebuck looked like Hellebuck, that's a different...
Yeah.
Keep in mind, too, Winnipeg just got Ehlers back, too. This is the second game playing tonight.
Well, that's the thing, Phil. I think if Winnipeg beats St. Louis tonight somehow in the third, and I kind of want to watch this third, boys, I think... Winnipeg could give Dallas a go.
Oh,
that feels like a completely different matchup.
It would depend a lot on Hellebuck.
Yeah.
But...
Yeah. If Hellebuck finds his footing, I think Dallas beats St. Louis. The irony of St. Louis probably beating Winnipeg, I think Winnipeg could have Dallas. I honestly don't know. It's like this weird triangle of, I guess we'll see. We're about a half an hour, 40 minutes away from knowing who's moving on, but...
Either one of them is going to be an interesting matchup.
Yeah, so to finish off the West, we do have Edmonton and Vegas. That's happening.
And like we talked about...
What are we thinking there?
It's going to be if Edmonton can penetrate the Golden Knights' defensive structure. Like, if they can get in and make life miserable for... Is it Aiden Hill playing net for Vegas right now? I'm assuming so.
Yep.
And they have the ability to do that, obviously, with McDavid's speed. But if they can actually execute it, I think that's the only chance they got, because Edmonton has no defensive structure hardly whatsoever, right? And then we all know what their goaltending situation is. So they, like we said earlier, they just got to try to outscore. That's all they can do.
Yeah.
Which is going to be hard.
I'm leaning Vegas, but the way that Kaprizov and Boldy were able to pick Vegas apart there in a couple of games makes me kind of think McDavid and Draisaitl might.
Well, Gary, there was a couple
similar.
I only got to watch one full game, and then I was watching highlights here and there. There was a couple times where, like, the defensive end of Vegas couldn't keep up with Kaprizov.
Yeah,
that's true.
Picking them right apart.
like it was really, he'd get that little burst of speed. It's not McKinnon-esque, but there's speed there, and he'd be gone. He'd do that little outside dip-de-doo, whatever you want to call it, and
take a little Nylander lap around the zone.
He does. He does, yeah. It looks different, but he does go for the lap, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, like he wasn't, Phil, I know, he wasn't having his way with them. You know what I mean? But it was, yeah. Obviously not, or they'd still be in, right? But it was, they were finding cracks. So to go to the East now, we have Carolina and Washington, and I don't know what to think.
I'm going to give Washington, I think, the edge.
Is Freddie healthy?
Freddie is supposedly healthy.
Just resigned for another year, right? They're keeping him.
But
I think he's leading the playoff save percentage right now.
Yeah.
But we as Leaf fans know how quickly that can change the whole injury thing with Freddie, right? Someone looks at him sideways and...
And there's the thing with save percentage too, boys, and this is not coming from me. This is coming from one of the commentators said it the other night in the Leafs game. They were joking about Stolar's save percentage and goals against. And they said how deceiving it looked that it was so low. He had only had one game where he allowed in more than 2. Right? Because it was an empty netter, or it was overtime, or there was the game where it was where he let in 3. Right? That's it. But the Leafs had held them. There was one period where they only had 4 shots, but they scored on 1. And so it was like low quality, an insane amount of block shots. Like there was one period, Gary, where they had 14 block shots that didn't get through, but 4 did, and one of them went in.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like, well, there goes my goals against.
Yeah.
Right? So it's deceiving. So, and then some of them, like on Freddie, they were dumping a lot, and they were shooting from the blue line, and Freddie's got that. But when you've blocked all 28 shots in a game, your goals against and save percentage goes up because and some of them should be easy saves, right? So it's, yeah. I'm going in that one. I think that's going 7 games.
Think so?
And I think, well, man, I never, if anything I've learned over the last 15 years is you don't bet against Carolina. It's just not a safe bet. My gut says Washington has Carolina. You know what I mean? But I don't know by how much, and I just want to give the asterisk to Brindamore's coaching, and I don't know how he fires them up, but he does. He's just one of those guys. He's a St. Louis. You know how he played, and you want to play for a guy like that, and you know what I mean? Like they play hard for him. Like they have those moments. They're like what I call a blanket team. They've got like 3 out of 4 very decent lines, and no one's really standing out in superstar status. They're just, all of our lines are built to go, and you know what I mean? We got our checking line, and they can wear down 2 out of your 4 lines, and they play hard. They get it done. Now, I'm agreeing with you on Washington. I think Washington's going to take it. I just think it's going to go 7. I wouldn't be shocked if it went 7, and Carolina had a lot of heart there, but... And you know what it's like, guys. If you win in overtime, it counts as a win. If you win by 6, it counts as a win, but a win's a win.
Yeah, it just wins and losses in the playoffs.
So like if you edge out a couple, it's just wins and losses. Someone said they were chirping at Biz on Spitting Chicklets or whatever, and said, oh yeah, Toronto had to beat Ottawa in overtime there, had to beat them twice in overtime. And he said, boys, are we going to start chirping teams about having to win in overtime? Because if that's the case, like Florida 2 years ago when they went all the way to the final but lost, 2 out of their 4 wins against Toronto was in overtime, and then they had to beat. He said, like, we can't go down that rabbit hole. Like it was just kind of like, you know what I mean? Like it's Gary, you going Washington or Carolina?
I'm going Washington.
Okay, so we're all on Washington. Man, we could all be terribly wrong. We're all in agreement. And...
had my Toronto-Washington jerseys up here behind me for a while now.
Nice.
A rematch from 9 years ago.
And boys, you had 9. Then we got Toronto, Florida, and I'm scared to death. Not going to lie.
Yeah, this is going to be a series.
So if you're betting and you're placing a bet, Toronto's the underdog, even at home.
Yeah.
That said, I was a little surprised at how much of an underdog, because it wasn't much.
Really?
I just saw on well, we won't start naming sites, but one of the sites had Toronto at minus 100.
Wow.
And I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's it?
So you're telling me they have a chance?
No, but you know what I mean? Like sometimes, like I remember when the Toronto-Ottawa series opened, it was opening game. It was like Ottawa minus 225. And I was like, oh, yeah, okay. And then Toronto was plus whatever, you know what I mean, to win. Like you're not going to, you know what I mean? You're betting for Toronto to win. Well, we agree that they're probably, I'm not, you know what I mean? Yeah, but they were minus 100, which means, you know, there's some 10, you know. No, it's not bad. Still the underdog, but not bad. I don't know. Do I go with my heart or my head here?
I'm going to say Toronto in 7. I'm not using my heart. I'm saying Toronto 7. I think this is their year with Craig Berube. The defense core that they got.
Phil?
The goalie.
I'm going Toronto in 6.
Wow.
That's
Name it and
bold.
claim it, buddy.
Yeah.
I want to up you, but I'm not dare going to say 5.
Wow. That's aggressive. That's like major injuries kind of stuff happening
And I mean,
there.
But the thing is, it could happen.
Definitely.
Like one of those, the second Ottawa win that last series, Leafs hit the post twice in overtime. And then Ottawa scores. And it's not, I'm not making excuses. Toronto still won. But it's like, that's the nature of hockey. You're talking like Matthews rang one off the post. Like the place went quiet. You're talking where that hit, because it bounced. I know what you mean. I know you'll know what I mean, Phil. It came from the right and then bounced out to the right. So it hit the inside of that post and went flying out. 1 inch to the right, that game's over. And Ottawa doesn't win that game. 1 inch.
The series would have been over.
And so, like, there is this series would have been over. So there is this aspect to me of when we say 7 games or 6 games or 5 games of someone gets hurt. Maybe Florida's more beat up than we know. That was a rough series. I will say that. Like, I'm disappointed the series didn't go longer. When you see Tampa's list of injuries, you get it. But man, I'm wondering if Florida is almost as beat up as Tampa, and we don't know. We don't know. I mean, they've had rest days too, but we don't. Anyway, there's a lot of asterisks there. You know what I mean? We don't know how the series is going to be called. The refs. I had no complaints about watching the first round, other than I'll tell you who should have complaints is Montreal about refs. But as a Toronto fan, I don't have any. Lot of non-calls in that Montreal-Washington series. And as someone who, like, Montreal's not in my, I know you know what I mean, but like, if it's a Montreal player getting taken down and not being called, and I'm like, yeah, then it must be pretty bad. I don't know. There's just a lot of asterisks in a hockey series. You know what I mean? That's all.
I was just thinking.
You
were talking about calls, and I was just thinking, as you know, I'm a big baseball fan too, and I was watching the Jays there this weekend, and the camera panned to Max Scherzer on the bench, and he was making fun of the home plate umpire. He was flicking a coin, like pretending he was flicking a coin and catching it, putting it on his wrist, looking at it, and then he'd go, ball. Then he flicked the coin again, and the next pitch, catch it, put it on his wrist, he goes, strike. Basically implying that's what the home plate umpire was doing back there. And It just reminded when you said missed calls and stuff with the Habs. That's kind of what my mind went to there.
Oh man, no, but like I don't know about you guys, but the Toronto-Ottawa series, they let stuff go, and some stuff got a little, but it never felt biased to me. It was let go both ways. You know what I mean? Like it was a pretty fairly reffed. They kind of drew their line, like a high stick they were going to call, a blatant trip they were going to call, the roughing they weren't necessarily going to call if you got carried away. Like they called that one on Perron because he lost his mind. He was really overreacting to, you know what I mean? There's like 3-4 guys in a scrum and then he just loses his ever-loving mind. Well, guess what? You're going. You know what I mean? And if it was a Leaf player, I would have called the same thing.
It's basically just call a couple penalties early, and then unless you're
set
affecting possession or a goal or something, you're not really going to call it after that.
Yeah, agreed. Now the cross-check on Caulfield, right in the face.
The Tampa, Florida one also seemed a little strange with the officiating, but
yeah, and different officials all the time. So like, I don't understand. Yeah, I don't know. Not gonna lie to you, it's not like I'm not scared of Florida. I'm just.
We know the Leafs can beat them. It's just, can they?
It's just when you look at it, it's like goaltending probably give Florida the edge.
Yeah.
Decor,
I don't know.
Probably give Florida the edge.
Maybe.
A little more even, but
closer to being even, but yes.
Up front, it's pretty even.
Yeah.
But
well, up front, I'm going to go scoring
6.
power. I'm giving it to the Leafs. Grittiness, I'm giving it to the Panthers. There's a difference.
Yeah.
There is a difference.
And dirtiness that you can get away with.
Oh, definitely Florida. Florida for sure. You know, you say that about the goaltending, though. I was looking online before we went online, and Stolarz and Bob both have identical stats, except for the wins losses. Their save percentage is the same, and their goals against is the exact same so far in the playoffs. Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yep,
that's crazy.
Just Bob got it done one game sooner.
I'm trying to look up, see how accurate this was.
I'm always curious, too, when a goalie goes back to play their old team, how well the players know the goalie and the goalie knows the players.
Yeah.
It's like having Stolarz playing against Florida. Do they know how to pick him apart, or does he know all their preferences and know how to block them?
I would almost say advantage goalie, being a goalie, because you can anticipate a lot of stuff, right, just by how a player is coming down at you. Like you can see the angle of his stick and watch his eyes, and I would put just a slight advantage.
Yeah,
man, I'm telling you,
tendencies.
Why do goalies always make such good commentators later on in their career?
I know they're all goalies. Most.
I'm telling you, they were watching everything. I'm looking at the EA Sports NHL 25 playoff simulation, which from what I read has been right like 83% of the time or something like that, which is actually pretty crazy. They had Toronto beating Ottawa in 6. They had Florida beating Tampa in 5. They actually had Montreal beating Washington. But they had Carolina beating New Jersey, so that's correct. Okay? On the other side, they had Vegas beating Minnesota, but they had Colorado beating Dallas, and they had the Kings beating Edmonton, and they had the Jets beating the Blues. They said Toronto beats Florida 4-2.
4-2, so game 6.
6 games, but they also said the final was going to be Toronto and Carolina or Colorado, and that's impossible now already. So,
well, let's put Edmonton in there.
They had Edmonton going.
The Charles Barkley bracket.
It's going to be interesting. Yeah. Yeah. All right, guys. Round 2 starts tomorrow. Which, when this comes out, means today.
And we will know who won the Winnipeg and St. Louis game. Right now, St. Louis is on the power play, up 3-1.
Yeah.
8:35 to go.
Crazy.
So, what was the best chant from the crowd?
Matthews Balding. Matthews Balding.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
I got to give it up to Ottawa. I knew Winnipeg was like that.
I'm going to give it up to Ottawa, but with an asterisk of check your own captain's hairline. That's pretty rough. Like, man.
It was fun having Ottawa.
I don't know. Say what you want about Brady. I can't stand Brady, but all those locker room interviews, you can tell the guy cares. Holy dying.
It was.
I'll give that to him.
It was fun having Ottawa in the playoffs, though. Again, like their crowd's awesome.
Yeah.
Same with Montreal. Like, I mean, like having them. Like, as much as I hate them, being a Leafs fan, it was fun having two different teams in the playoffs and having two different Canadian teams too.
Agreed. 100%
two great fan bases.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one.
Fan bases. Like, you can't get any more passionate than Montreal, right? And the way they do their opening ceremonies and stuff, like it's awesome.
No argument from me. I 100% agree. Yep.
Winnipeg almost had one. And Bennington just came up big.
On that note, boys, maybe we should sign off.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some bold predictions. It's going to be an interesting week, guys.
Enjoy round 2.
Round 2, here we go. We'll check in next week, folks, with a mid-round 2 check-in. Oh.
All right. Keep your head up.
Keep your sticks on the ice. Have a good one.